Okay, let's start with a question that's easy for people who play video games in class, Leo. Who here has played video games before? Okay, not surprising, quite a few people. Then you are part of the 81% of people worldwide who have played video games. You're also most likely asking yourself, why do video games take so long to make? Then you are possibly one of two people. Option one, you think video games are easily made and companies are stalling so they have more popularity from the launch of the game and they have more time to make microtransactions and cosmetics. Or option two, you think games take a really long time to make and big companies are making them as fast as they can. Okay. If you don't think either of these, then it's most likely you are correct, as both of these beliefs aren't totally truthful. My name is Adam Brooke, and in the next 243 slides, I will show you my journey of making a detailed skeleton of a video game. The game I made is called AracnoSapien. It is a multiplayer, player versus player with a bugs fighting bugs theme. If you are worried that I'm going through 243 slides, I'm not. That just matches the number of lines of codes in one of my scripts. And the coding language I use is what inspired the format of my presentation, especially the semicolons and brackets. I'm a gamer, and I want to build my own game for my Masterworks project. I will start with going over what game engine, along with coding language I use and why. Then I'll talk about the 5 major steps to making a game, which are making characters, designing maps, setting up multiplayer, adding controls, and making conditions. I will also be discussing how to advertise and build an audience. Why did I choose this topic? Ever since I was little, I've been playing video games, and more recently, I've started making them. I still really enjoy playing video games, and the most fun ones for me are games that I can play with my friends. My absolute favorite genre is survival games, which have some of the most variety in games, as they can be anything from a horror to a simple explorer. You can also play most survival games with your friends, and it's always fun to have shenanigans while playing together. My favorite game is Ark Survival Evolved. You can see the logo in the bottom corner there. One fascinating thing I've learned from playing many video games is how expensive they can be to make. The most expensive game is a game called Star Citizen. It has been in development for many years now, and over $700 million have gone into funding the development. This solar system here is an image of the in-game map, and every planet is completely explorable. Now, for a quick suggestion for anybody planning on making a video game, and that's to use a task manager. This is the one I used here. It's broken up into 5 sections. So you have what part of the game it is, the specifications, the progress, date completed, and what I learned. It's formatted where it's green is completed, yellow is in progress, red is not started, and then gray is no longer needed. This helped me a lot, and it also shows that I have done quite a bit over the journey for the codes. It also helped me stay on track and make sure everything's done in time. Okay, now for a quick explanation for what a game engine is. Game engines are what you use to have an easier time making a video game. They're what most major companies use to make higher quality video games. There are 2 major game engines, and they are Unreal Game Engine, which is used by Epic Games, and Unity, which is a smaller scale or indie game engine. Unity is my preferred game engine because it has fewer restrictions and I'm familiar with it. I've been using Unity for over 3 years now, and in that time I've seen some amazing things created. From a game with a 4th dimension, like this one here, to some of the craziest horror games, like this one by Wishbone. This freedom is why I chose Unity for creating my game, because I knew if I wanted to add a unique feature like moving individual arms, I knew I could. When using most game engines or creating a game without an engine, the most commonly used coding languages are C# and C++. They are popular because of their built-in parameters, making it easier to do things like movement or tracking objects in a 3-dimensional plane. This is why I use C# with the Photon and Unity libraries. Without it, the coding I have done would have been a lot more difficult. The majority of the C# scripts in my game have over 200 lines of code, and most of them use a lot of pre-made parameters. These pre-made parameters are what make up the Photon and Unity libraries. Each parameter would have taken at least 10 more lines of code to define. This would make it so I would have 400 plus lines of code in multiple scripts. Okay, on to making the game. I will break the making of a game down into 5 major steps: characters, map design, multiplayer, adding controls, and conditions. Okay. These are the 5 major points that I use to make my game, and these are also high risk points of failure. When making characters, you have to think about the theme of your game. My theme was bugs fighting each other. This is my B model here, which is one of the 5 that you may see in the video. You have to think about the models for the characters and how detailed they are, because you could do low poly, like this one, and blocky models, or you could do high poly and detailed models. That brings me to what software you use for 3D modeling or creating sprites. Sprites are the 2D equivalent for 3D models. I use Blender for 3D modeling, as it is one of the most trusted and supported, but it can be very difficult to use, but it was not too much a problem for me because I've spent lots of time using it and developing my 3D modeling skills. These are my 5 characters. You have the Mantis, who has the best working arm controls. Looks a bit goofy, some of them, because, well, the arms were a different model, as they can move around, and I didn't want to attach it to the main body of the character. Then you have the Spider, which has the most balanced PvP, also missing the arm models. The Ant, it was the smallest character, but it has the ability to pick up and use plants for building or as weapons. The Beetle, which has the most health and damage, but also the slowest movement and controls. And finally, the Bee, which can jump and fly around, is also the second smallest, and there's a 1 in 4 chance that after killing an opponent that you die as well. Okay, map design is a key component when making a game, as you want them to be furnished. You also don't want just one map, as that could be very repetitive for players. This can leave the players unsatisfied. You want the maps to fit the theme of your game, and you want to have lots of variety between multiple maps. This is why I have 3 maps, and they are Valley, the Branch, and Caverns. The video in the top corner is a valley, and is the map that I've done the most work in, as well it was my first map that I created. And I am at a point where I feel comfortable enough with this that I can continue working on the other ones without fear of glitches or problems in this one. Though maps may seem easy to make, they're actually very time-consuming, as you need to make sure there are certain details as to not to have a map feel empty. Like this one here, this is just the void. This is if you have nothing in the model, and if you were to join that, you just fall infinitely. And it's actually what you see if you fall out of my map, which takes me to people escaping the map. Leave. It's not a fun thing to fix a lot of the time, and especially when Leaf finds it, because I don't know half the time how he finds these. These are a basic view of my maps. We have Valley, which has these 2 explorable rock things, formation things on either side. We have the Branch, which is the largest and also most open map, making it more dangerous for the smaller models. And then finally, we have Caverns, which has this cool feature where those glowing orbs in the corners, I will eventually add crystals, so it will be like glowing crystals, because it's supposed to be a cave map, basically. Okay, multiplayer is one of the biggest parts of making a game, and it's one of the most expensive parts. This is because when creating multiplayer in a game, you have to have a server to store all the information from all the players and share it with all the other ones. This can be very expensive because they cost money to own or rent. The thing about using a free server is that it's limited what you can do and how many players you can have on a server at once. The biggest part of multiplayer is the room system, and it's one of the most frustrating things to set up. You can see it here as the area where you can select the character and select the map. It took me months to set up, and I won't get into the details, but basically it was because of how many errors I got and because of it being my first time messing around with multiplayer. Okay, do you want to play a video game? Well, you get the next best thing. A video of me and my friend playing my video game. There are 3 game modes: Team Deathmatch, Free-for-all, and Hardcore. Here I'm selecting the Mantis. As well, this is the one I'm pretty familiar with, and here's my friend. He joined, and he's going with the Ant character. We're playing on Valley, and this is his first time playing on any maps or my game at all in a bit. So he's not totally used to the surroundings or really anything in the game. So right here, it's just kind of me trying to figure out where he is and him not giving me very good directions. So here, I'm just running around trying to check places where I know the spawn points are. There are a few spawn points over in front of me here, and then there's one inside that rock underneath that tree there. And there's actually one in both. But here, he says he's inside a rock, so I'm like, oh, he's inside one of these. And then, so I'm moving over to try and see if I can sneak up on him and get him. And then around here, he's like, what the hell is those big things on the side of the map? And I'm like, oh, you can go in those. So you're not in there. Here I see him on the tree there. He has not seen me. And it's pretty funny because he's confused. And I've told him I've seen him. But he still has no idea where I am. Here he's still like panicking because I'm freaking him out, but he doesn't know. Here, you can see I move my arms down to the side to try and get them so they hit his hitbox. Here, I killed him, but... Here we're back in. This is after resetting because he glitched out his game. I'm going with the Ant character. He's doing the spider again. Here, I just picked up one of the sticks. These are pretty good because you can build with them. And you can also use them to attack people. They had one-shot any model, like any character. So it's really good, but they're hard to use because they absolutely make it so you can't see anything. You can only see out of the side of the screen here. So here I'm just spinning around to try and see if he'll come to me or if I can see him off the side of my screen. Here I'm adjusting it to see if I can see him. Around here, he said, oh, I just fell off something, and I spot him over there. He's just off to the side. He sees me with the stick, and he's panicking, so he runs up the branch. Here he dropped down, and I didn't see him, so I got really scared when I saw him immediately really close to me. Basically, his character can one-shot my character, because the Ant has the least amount of health, and so it's really scary for me. Here I'm trying to get him to run around to the front of the branch, which is discolored because that is the spot where the hitbox is that kills the other player. And here he's just chasing me around. He gets really close, so I start strafing. And here he runs into the edge, and I'm super happy because I successfully got him to run in and kill himself. Here I'm just messing around with the building mechanics because, well, I wanted to test it out. There's a few glitches with them still, so I wanted to make sure they were working. And here I'm just glad I killed him and I... Okay. Now on to controls. Controls are what you use to make a character move or do things. They are a large fail point because you could have laggy or not very smooth controls. You want to make sure the movements are smooth to make sure people stay playing the game for longer. This is the flying movement of the B character. It's set up in a system similar to the video game Joust, if any of you guys have heard of it. You also want to have more than just the basic movements and add something like jumping or flying, like I did with the bee and beetle characters. Just so there's more variety and to add detail. I also added the custom controls of having it where when you press the left mouse button, you can move the left arm, and same goes for the right arm. You could see this when I first killed my friend as the mantis character in the first part of the video. Okay. Conditions. Right? Conditions are things like how you win, how you lose, or how your character dies. The first thing I added was how a character dies, because it was one of the easiest things to add. This is the "you are dead" scene I have in my game. It just has the options to return to lobby and quit, because I haven't quite got the respawn system set up yet. Basically, in my game, your character dies by getting hit a certain number of times, depending on what's hitting them. For example, the mantis has to hit the beetle more times than the spider does. After they die, there's this scene, and you can return to lobby and then join back to the room you were in, or quit the game if you're mad at your friend or something. Next is the win and lose conditions. These are together because they can be called more easily. In my game, for example, I use time as a win condition. So if you get a certain score in a set amount of time, then you win. If you don't, then you lose. Most other games with a similar style of gameplay use a hit a certain score system, so it can cut down the length of time quite a bit if there's really good players. And basically, if you hit a score, then you win. If you don't hit that score, then you lose. If you combine all these aspects together, you'll have a good framework for a game. And the thing about a good framework is that you can easily add depth by adding more detailed models and having a basic storyline. Advertising is one of the most difficult sections of making a game, because you don't want advertising to make the audience hate the game. There are two ways to advertise a video game that I will go over. The first way is actually my favorite, and it's through posting game development videos like Danny. The other way is through paying for ads on things like YouTube or TikTok. The other type of advertising is using ads on a website or in an app. There are two ways it can be used in an app. The first way is pop-up, and that is where after some use, there's an ad played. The second method is rewardative, which is more successful, as it is where when you watch an ad, it rewards you with something like an in-game currency or a boost. There are three types of ads on a website. The first type is banner. These ones are usually on the side of the page and don't really take up too much space, and they're kind of just there. The next type is full page ads, which are annoying, but you can usually just scroll past them. The third type I do not like because it is a pop-up or tab ad. This either opens another window to display the ad that you can't just ignore because it blocks your screen, or it opens a new tab on your device, which is very annoying to deal with. What I will use the banner type of advertising on my website, as it is a good way to have a passive income from the website to pay off the server and the domain. I will not have any ads in my game, as I don't really want to do that, and it's more fun to not have ads. And I will start posting game development videos like 2-star. So overall, making a game is very complicated and a difficult thing to do, but it can also be a very fun experience. It can be pretty easy to gain an audience with a simple game like I did, as long as you don't try to do things that take away from the fun of the game or annoy the audience by consistently showing your ads. Some of the most difficult things I had to do was create the game modes, adding character selection, and of course creating the movement with the arms. The things that helped me fix these problems was my uncle and advisor Peter, along with Brackies, who is a game dev YouTuber that covers a lot of the errors I got. You can see Bracky's there. That is not my uncle. The goal of my company is to create a new game every couple of years and to make sure each one is well made. If the community votes on it, I would make sequels. And now that I've finished my presentation, if you would like to download my game, you can at brokenasylum.com. It's pretty fun with friends. You guys should go try it.
Yeah!
Acknowledgements. Thank you to the people who inspired me to make a game, and those are Danny, Bargy, Mrs. Wishbone Games, Brackies, Blackthorn Prod, and 2-Star. Thank you to my game testers who are Leaf, Felix, Nick, Matthew, Ronan, Kabir, Max, Quinn, and my dad. Thank you to my uncle and advisor, Peter, who helped me with many errors I had in my code, along with my mom for helping me set up the Google Meets to get help from my uncle. And finally, thank you to my advisor, Jen, for helping me with my Masterworks project, along with making sure everything is done on time. So now, does anybody have any questions?
Yes, we do. Hold up. The advisors get the first question. Since I'm your advisor, I have a little story to tell. I had the privilege of being in a double kayak with Atom when he was in grade 8, all the way back from Gambier, and I heard all about this video game. So it's a tremendous amount of work that Adam has put into this video game, and it started more than a year ago.
Actually, exactly. Actually, I created the project in April of grade 8, April last year.
April of grade 8. So an incredible amount of work by Adam and, by Mr. Brooke.
Yeah.
And so really I have a lot of respect for that. I don't have a technical question. I do want to point out your shirt. Can you tell us what your shirt
So it says the 6 stages of debugging, and they are, that can't happen, that doesn't happen on my computer, that shouldn't happen, why does that happen, oh, I see, how did that ever work?
And I know that you can probably live that shirt.
Yeah, I've gone through it a few times.
My question for you is, where will you be taking this particular game?
Well, I'm hoping to add some more game modes, add some more characters, and add some more models. I'm hoping to get it to a point where it's a full-fledged game, and it's a pretty well-made one. I'm hoping to add a story mode, sort of like campaign if you guys have played COD, and do all sorts of stuff like that with that, and then possibly move on to my next project.
Well done. I would like to pass the question over to your advisor, another Mr.
All right.
Sully.
Awesome project, Mr. Brooke. The creativity and the technical excellence to make a game is hard. Games are a real challenge.
Yeah.
When you're researching the material for it, either technically and ideas, what amount did you rely on search, like Google search, and AI queries? What was your distribution?
Well, I didn't really use AI at all, as I do not trust its ability to program, especially in C#, as most AIs are created in things like Python. So I use things like GitHub and Stack Overflow, which are basically message boards that are used to store basically code and for people to help each other with code and errors and stuff.
Great. I got 2 more questions. So second one is, if you had a choice of other frameworks or other libraries to utilize, were there any that you would want to choose instead?
I would want to use a different server provider for my website, because currently I'm using a free one and it limits what I can do. So currently I can't actually run ads on my website. So I would have liked to upgrade to an actual paid server so that I could run ads and stuff and not have it just be well, to cover the domain name and the server itself.
And finally, if you had a teammate, what tasks would you have delegated to them?
Okay, I would have delegated to them the task of the models and the overall like 3D modeling and creating the maps and stuff. So I could have more time to focus on the actual gameplay and code and the more technical bits for me.
Great. Fantastic project.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Liam, for the first question.
Mr. Brooke, so you know how there's 2 players? Would you use one computer and have like different keys like W, S, A, D, and the arrow keys, or would you have 2 computers and have them online?
It would be 2 computers and have them online because I do not have the split screen system set up, as it's usually something pretty difficult and it's usually not really used anymore because everybody really usually has their own device to play on.
Mr. Brooke, when creating this project, did you ever touch grass?
Short answer, no. Long answer, no, because I was busy making a video game.
Thank you. Fabulous presentation, Mr. Brooke. I've played a couple games, like Tetris and Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of understanding of how complicated it is, but when you started talking, I gotta say I got really lost really fast.
Yeah.
A game engine,
Is
what on earth is that? Is it like that it gives you code that you can use?
It's software that basically it takes over, like with Unity and stuff. The maps aren't actually coded, so if I did it without a game engine, I'd have to individually say, render this block, make it this size. But using Unity, I just add in the block as
So
it
you can
has.
drag and click?
Yeah, it
Oh,
has
that's
pre-made,
awesome.
and then you can drag it to size.
So you think I could do it then?
Possibly. You might just make Tetris though. Or Cookie Clicker, that's another good option.
Cookie clicker, I might, maybe 10 years. Very impressive, Mr. Brooke. I can't imagine the amount of time you put in. I know Jen said you started in April. Do you have any concept of the number of hours you spent in front of your computer?
Probably, I'd say probably around 1,000.
1,000?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you.
Kabir, come on up.
What can I play this on?
You can play it on PC. It's currently set up for Windows operating system. And as I mentioned before, you can download it on my website. I do have a game launcher for it. It's not completely set up yet. So currently you'd have to download the file and then extract the zip file that is downloaded and then go in and press play.
Brad?
ブロッコさん、プレゼンはかっこいいね。It's a very cool presentation.
Thank you.
What you may not know is that both Adam and Brad know Japanese.
Yeah.
I loved your presentation. I'm fascinated by your project. Clearly you have a lot of technical skill, but what I was really impressed was by all the soft skills that went around that. I thought, you were talking about the user experience, you're talking about advertising, so you're building empathy. You have that technical list, your checklist of stuff. That's something we call building executive function. This is obviously a long-term project. You've got sort of stick-to-itness and discipline, the patience to go through testing and revisit those things. Those are all things that we work really hard to cultivate in all the students here. And typically schools, I think, look at game development as just coding, sort of the technical skill. Do you think schools misunderstand everything that goes into and can be learned from developing games as opposed to just coding?
Likely, because the coding is a large part of it, but a lot of the times, and a lot of things I've noticed when talking to some of my friends about coding, is that coding seems usually like a big, scary thing that's hard to do, when really it's quite simple, and quite a bit of the answers to any errors you'll get you can just find on, as mentioned, Stack Overflow or GitHub.
Right, right. Yeah, it was really good. I was very impressed with all the work you put in it. So thank you for the presentation and thank you for your work. And I want to get one of those t-shirts.
Mr. Brooke, can you talk about the libraries at Photon specifically? Because that cleared a lot of things up for me. And did you look at them? What are Photon?
Well, Photon is the multiplayer server provider that I use, and it offers free servers. Well, it is free and it's nice to use. There are limits to what I can do. Like the maximum number of players I can have in a lobby at a time is 16, which compared to if you had like a paid server, you could have like some of the games I've noticed, like the one at the beginning, BattleBit Remastered, has lobbies with up to 256 players. So you can get a lot of gameplay out of that.
Okay, question from Jude.
Well done, Mr. Brooke. I was wondering, because you said earlier that you are going to work on more games in the future, do you have any ideas at the moment that you want to
Not entirely. I've been just working on little games here and there. I made a horde shooter when I was bored. That was truly the first time testing out Photon and stuff, but I didn't get very far on it. I've made a cookie clicker style game just because I was bored and wanted to see how quickly I could make it. It took 2 hours. Not very much time.
Last question from Max.
Very good job. Once you like flesh out the game a bit more and add some more and like polish it, would you consider adding it on Steam? Like, I know it's $100, but like, would you consider it?
Well, it's not just the fact that it's $100 to add on Steam. It's the fact that Steam requires you to use the Steam like multiplayer system, which I'd have to go in and rework all the multiplayer system I currently use and have to do a bunch of changes and stuff. So it would be a possibility, but it's less likely.
I think that you've done excellent.
What about Leo?
Oh, Leo, please.
Great job, Mr. Brooke. Do you see yourself making a mobile game, and how hard is it to make a mobile game?
Well, mobile games, especially with the game engine I use, are pretty simple. You just, well, with the one I use, Unity, they have a built-in system that you can use for mobile games and for creating them. And so it's not that difficult. The most difficult thing would be exporting the correct file type. That and getting it posted on Apple, like the Apple App Store. If you wanted it there, it takes a bit longer and it's a lot more difficult. But overall, there would be a chance, yes.